Well, hello, sports fans, and welcome back to another segment of Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'm going to be joined by Nick James, and together we're going to be breaking down week one of the 2022 NFL season. It was quite an opening weekend. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about some of the key games. Of course, it all started last Thursday night when Buffalo came into SoFi Stadium and really spanked the defending Super Bowl champion Rams. You got Von Miller returning back to Los Angeles and just wreaking havoc on Matthew Stafford and the LA Ram offense. All in all, the Rams looked like pretenders, and the Bills definitely look like Super Bowl contenders. Of course, the other Super Bowl team also lost, and I'm talking about the Cincinnati Bengals, kind of a real lackluster game that they lost in overtime to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So there seems to be a change at the top there with both the Bengals and the Rams going down. Of course, in the AFC, you had the Kansas City Chiefs really making a statement. Patrick Mahomes showing that he still is the best quarterback in the NFL with 5 touchdown passes as they routed the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. The other big game that was on Sunday night, of course, was the Dallas Cowboys as they stumbled their way through an opening game loss against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I laugh because there was so much hope for the Cowboys, and then poor old Dak goes and breaks his thumb towards the end of the game. They weren't looking that good even when he was in there. So there was a lot of stuff that was happening over the weekend. Nick, what games and what individuals stand out for you?
Well, Willie, overall, I thought it was a pretty weird week one of football. I feel like last year there was a bunch of blowouts and overtimes, or like high scoring games and overtimes. And this year, a lot of, I can't count how many overthrows I saw, a lot of fumbles, a lot of missed kicks, and it just seemed sloppy all around. You mentioned the Bengals and the Rams didn't really look like they belonged in the Super Bowl from last year. And then you have teams like the Bills, the Chiefs, and don't forget the Chargers coming out hot. I'll have to counter your take on Mahomes. He did look great. I don't think Herbert couldn't have done that. I feel like with that Charger game, we finally got things rolling in the second and third quarter, took our foot off the gas. If we wanted to, we could have kept piling up the score, but in classic Charger fashion, we're playing to not lose instead of just, going for it and doing what got us the lead in the first place. So that's something I'm still concerned about. Either way, it was still a super great win for us, Charger Nation, kind of getting the monkey off our back to start the season, getting our revenge on the Raiders. I'm hoping that on a short week, we can ride that momentum to battle Kansas City for the top spot in the AFC West.
For me, the only bummer in the game was Keenan Allen pulling that hamstring and having to leave early. And it looks like his status for the Thursday night game is very much in doubt. Those hamstring injuries have a tendency to linger, and definitely you don't want to come back too soon on something like that. It might make it worse. I mentioned last week, Nick, about the Charger offensive line, and I want to say a couple of things about Slater and Johnson and Lindsley. Did Herbert even get his jersey dirty over the weekend? There were no sacks. I didn't think they had a holding call. There were hardly any penalties at all, and they looked really, really flawless. They opened up some good holes for Eckler, and of course Sony Michel, who made a big first down at the end of the game. I was really impressed with their offensive line. Well, a lot of people are talking about defense, and maybe you can help us there, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that even though I was at that wedding I mentioned, I still had red zone on and I was able to see a lot of the good stuff. Maybe not as much detail as you got, unfortunately, but I did see the defense step up, and unlike classic Charger fashion, we didn't throw away the game at the end like we did against the Raiders last year, on that 3rd and 6 run or whatever they got to secure the field goal range. Like right here, we stepped up. Khalil Mack, huge revenge game, another theme of the weekend, a lot of revenge games, but I think Khalil Mack really got his revenge. What do you have? 3 sacks, a fumble, a bunch of tackles, 6 tackles maybe, and the play to end the game. And I'm sure he wanted it just as bad as all the Charger fans after being so disrespected. So I'm really looking forward to it. Hoping we have JC Jackson back this week. And I think our defense is a lot better than the Chiefs defense. And I think our offenses are, Chiefs have a lot of weapons. They have a couple tight ends now they're throwing to replace Tyreek Hill, and their running backs are a lot more involved. But I think without Tyreek, I stand by what I said last week. I think our defense has a really good shot of locking. We just got to shut Kelsey down because that's where all the offense starts. We'll make Pat Mahomes beat us with other people.
Well, you mentioned the Charger defensive secondary, and I think that's one reason that the defensive line was able to put so much pressure on Derek Carr. Except for his main receiver, none of the Raider guys were able to get open, and that's I think a real plus if you're a Charger fan, because their secondary really stepped up, even though Jackson, in fact, as you said, did not play in the game. But some of the other guys that weren't on the team last year really stepped up. Think about this, Nick. The guys that scored the touchdowns for the Chargers were not on the team last year. Okay, the tight end Everett, of course, Horvath, that H-back, the rookie that they got out of Purdue, and DeAndre Carter. That was a fantastic touchdown catch he made when he stepped in after Keenan Allen went out. So they seem to have some good depth. I didn't mention Josh Palmer, but he also had a couple of key passes. So all in all, both sides of the ball, the Chargers looked pretty good. Staley, up to his old tricks, he did go for it on fourth down early in the game, and Herbert tried a quarterback sneak, and it didn't work. They could have gotten 3, but he went for it. Didn't work. Maybe he learned a little bit on that. I'm not sure. The commentators pointed out that was the first time that Herbert failed on a quarterback sneak in the last 2 seasons. So come back and talk more about that.
Yeah, he can't get all of them. And I feel like I saw a time where after that, he did punt it on a 4th and short, and we're sitting, looking at my phone going, go for it. Like, I don't know what I want with Staley. He drives me nuts. I want to go for it because it's fun when we get him, and then I, fire him when we don't.
What's wrong with getting 3 points when you have a chance to get 3 points? And these games these days are so close. I mean, it often comes down to 2 or 3 points at the end of the game. I'm not going to be negative on him just yet, but hopefully he's going to show a little bit more reason in some of the decisions he makes. Of course, talk about bad coaching decisions. What about the Denver coach last night deciding to take the ball out of Russell Wilson's hand and trying a 64-yard field goal? I don't know. What do you think, Nick?
How much did they pay Russell Wilson? Like a couple $100 million? Like, why? Yeah, why are you taking the ball out of his hand? I watched a lot of recaps on that. A lot of people were really surprised last night. The commentators. I even saw a clip this morning with the Manning cast and Peyton sitting there like Eli's going, "You're not supposed to do that, right, Peyton?" And they had 3 timeouts still.
Yeah, 3 timeouts.
Like, what are you thinking? Like, go for it. You think you're gonna have a better shot at making a 64-yard field goal than getting a 5-yard pass? I mean, Denver. Really, I guess they just lost confidence. They had the 2 goal line fumbles back to back. I mean, they should have won the game. And Willie, I will take some credit. I did tell my friends in my fantasy group, I said, don't count out the Seahawks and Pete Carroll. And I was mocked. I was ridiculed. And sure enough, it wasn't a very exciting game, but nothing better than seeing Seattle get their revenge on Wilson for leaving in Seattle. I'm sure Wilson, he'll probably turn it around. I still think they're going to finish better than the Raiders. They're both tied, for last right now, which is great. But I think they'll turn it around. I think
that's funny.
Wilson will have a lot to say about that end of the game. Nathaniel Hackett, more like Nathaniel Hack right now.
You're talking about the Seahawks. They're in first place in the NFC West now with Arizona, the 49ers, Trey Lance, he kind of stumbled a little bit. And of course, the Rams all losing the opening weekend.
Yeah, enjoy the view at the top. It's not
enjoy it while you can, Seattle, because I don't think it's going to last very long.
I think the Niners are going to come out on top in that division. Was really bummed to see Trey Lance kind of not have the kind of debut I was hoping for, mostly for fantasy purposes. I'll attribute it to the Slosh Bowl in Chicago. Someone needs to do something.
I think any quarterback would have had a hard time playing a good game under those conditions. So I'm going to hold off my judgment on Trey Lance at least for another week. I will say, though, if San Francisco loses a couple of more games, people are going to start screaming for Jimmy G to come back and start again. So we'll have to keep an eye on what's going on in San Francisco. Any final comments to share with us, Nick, before we sign off today's show?
I'm hoping I can watch the game Thursday. It's my fiance's birthday. So we're going out to dinner Saturday. I think I'm going to be able to swing it, but if not, I'll definitely have it on my phone.
Boy, all these conflicts in the early part of the season, Nick, but I'm sure you'll gravitate your way through just fine. Well, that's going to be it for today's show. I just wanted to remind people that you can still send in sports on the spot questions. We are going to be answering them again this season. So if you have any questions for us to address, feel free to send them in. Also, I wanted to remind people to comment and like and subscribe to the show if you have a chance. And thank all those people that have been watching over the last couple of years. That's going to be it for today's show, and we'll see everybody next time. Have a good day.
Unbelievable.